Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. I'm your host, Griffin Aldridge. Alongside me is my co host, David Caires here, presented by Celtics Talk Weekly. So, the Boston Celtics are on a complete tear right now, getting it done in 3 games. We all predicted 3-0, maybe 2-1. We weren't quite sure on that, obviously, with the Grizzlies in a big playoff spot. They're trying to be aggressive, but obviously with them firing their head coach, still up in the air kind of. But the Boston Celtics still got it done. What are your takeaways from this week? And we'll dive into the stats, but what are your takeaways?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me back on. I would like to apologize and admit I was wrong because the last time I came on here, I said that we would lose to the Kings in that 3 or 4 game stretch, including the Kings at the back end. So I was clearly wrong about that. I'm glad I was wrong about that. But yeah, it's been crazy the stretch the Celtics have been on. 9 wins in a row. A lot of stuff that we were seeing last year. We had 2 crazy long win streaks in the championship season last year. Actually, 3 if you count the 10-win streak in the playoffs, which is insane to even say. But last regular season, we had a win streak of 11 games in a row. We had a win streak of 9 games in a row last season as well. And we just keep adding on to this longest winning streak of the season here right before playoffs start with 9 and counting, hopefully. It's been great to see. I don't want to nitpick. I wouldn't say that there's been a complete effort in any of these games, but a win is a win, and we're dominating. I mean, it's crazy to say that we're not giving a complete effort, but still winning consistently night in, night out by double digits because we've won all 6 of these games on the West Coast road trip by double figures. Um, and yeah, it's different, but the same kind of dominance from last year, in my opinion, where last year was all about the story of our top 6 is going to carry us to the championship, and that's exactly what they did. This year, and specifically these last couple months, we've been dominating, but it's been a complete team effort. I mean, we have the emergence of Peyton Pritchard off the bench, who's likely going to win the Sixth Man of the Year award. You have a guy like Baylor Shireman, a rookie who's given you great minutes in these last 3 to 4 weeks. And Luke Cornett, which we'll get into, had a career night against the San Antonio Spurs a few nights ago. So you're getting contributions from everyone top to bottom, and that's just what you love to see. And we're really, we still have 7 games to go before the end of the regular season, but we're really starting to get that momentum and run through the finish line rather than stumble through it before we get into the important games here later in April.
No, I agree with that. I think the thing that the Boston Celtics are doing greatly is obviously just that boost of momentum. Like you want to go into playoffs being a strong, healthy team, and you want to go in there playing the best basketball. And that's what the Boston Celtics are doing. I mean, we'll get into it obviously a little more, but just to start off with that Suns game, that was a complete beatdown. But then you look at it, you're right. I feel like the effort kind of has been mid. Like I said this on Celtics Talk Weekly post game show. I thought that Grizzlies game I saw from KP in the third quarter, just him walking down the court. I mean, it could happen, but at the same time, like that's not complete effort. And it's fine because we're still getting the wins done. Like we've said millions of times, a win is a win, whether it's pretty or not. A win's a win. Um, but it's just a lack of effort. But you're still seeing them get this job done. Um, I do want to pull up this early. I want to show this. This is the tear that the Boston Celtics have been on. Yes, that's right. The Boston Celtics have been on a 9-game win streak. You already mentioned it, David. You look at this, it started off with Miami with that big win, and then you get that close win with Brooklyn. Then you look again, a little bigger win against Brooklyn. Then you face the Utah Jazz, which you just completely blow them out. Then you have that Trailblazers win, also kind of a little back and forth. And then you fast forward to that Kings win, another excellent win. And I would say the really big win started right here with Phoenix. Obviously, this is one where you see the Boston Celtics got it done. Obviously, we've talked about those big performances last year. I think we won 3 games by 50 last year. I think it was the Nets twice, or it might have been the Nets, Raptors, and Warriors. But We won 3 games by 50 last year. This year, we won 1 game by 50, beating the Toronto Raptors, but still, it's that dominance factor. And then you fast forward to that Spurs game, got it done by 10, and then honestly, we just blew away with it against the Grizzlies. So you said it, David, and you see it right here. The Boston Celtics have been on a tear, especially on this West Coast road trip. You already kind of mentioned it, but do you want to add on to kind of this dominance performance from the Celtics? You already said it, how it's been incredible what the Boston Celtics have been doing and just those win streaks, and that's what makes this team so special. But what are your thoughts on those wins? Obviously, I'm going to pull it back up because you see they're weaker teams. I mean, Miami, they're weaker. Brooklyn obviously is weaker. Utah is weaker. Portland, they're kind of weak right now. I would say the Kings was a good win. Obviously, Phoenix, another good win, having Devin Booker and Kevin Durant besides their struggles. The Spurs, another weak win because obviously no Wemby or De'Aaron Fox. And then the Grizzlies, I think that's a big win because you could see the Grizzlies give the Celtics a lot of trouble. But what are your thoughts on that win streak? Should we be overly excited considering the teams that it is, or do you think it's fine for us to be happy and be like, oh, this is big? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's 100% fine for Celtics fans to be excited about the win streak. Yeah, you mentioned a good point that we are going up against some lesser, some of the more worst teams in the NBA, if you will. We had some games sprinkled in with some contenders there. I would say the Grizzlies would have been the toughest game, given that they're in the middle of the playoff hunt in the West. But yeah, games against the Kings and the Suns and the Heat, who are all in the play-in pictures in their respective conferences. I would never discourage fans of any team to get unmotivated or not be excited about a 9-game win streak because it's very hard to do that. We've now gone over 2 weeks without experiencing a loss. Hopefully that continues tonight at least. Also, you got to look at it on the other end too, where we haven't really been at full strength for, I think, all but 2 of those games we've been at full strength for, where we've had our top 5 available. You know, we've been resting Porzingis here and there. I think Holiday's got a night off. Tatum had that ankle injury. Jaylen Brown's been in and out with a lingering knee problem. So, absolutely, I think we should all be excited about this win streak. And if I may add on something else that I think has been great since the start of this win streak is the emergence of Drew Holiday being
Yep.
way more aggressive. It's sort of been universally accepted in the Celtics community that Drew Holiday is obviously very integral to the Celtics repeating. He was a big reason why we won last year. We arguably don't win it last year if we don't acquire him right before training camp, but he's more so known for his defensive prowess and not lighting up the stat sheet and just being one of the guys out there that knows his role and does his job effectively. Usually, night in and night out, on an average night, Holiday will shoot no more than 10 attempts. Well, I would say, I mean, I don't have it right in front of me, but at least throughout this streak, it's been great to see Drew Holiday get more aggressive, and it feels like he's taking 10 to 15 shots a game now instead. So it's only going to benefit the Celtics in the playoffs if Drew Holiday continues to stay aggressive like this, because now that's just another offensive threat on top of what he can do defensively that teams have to prepare for. So I just love the fact that Drew Holiday's been getting more involved offensively and with people in and out of the lineup. And I absolutely think his aggressiveness has been a huge part of why we've been able to win 9 games in a row. So, this is a little bit of a throwback Drew Holiday that we're seeing right now where he's scoring a lot more and he's a lot more of a focal point of the offensive game plan for the Celtics than he has been the last couple of years since he's joined the team. But that's something that's really stood out to me. And you look at the first 2 games of those streaks, he set his season high, I think, for points with 25 against Miami. And then the very next night against Brooklyn, he had a season high 12 assists.
Yeah.
So he's been doing great. And I think that's gone a little bit underappreciated. And I'm just, really happy to see him getting a bigger role in the offense.
He's the reason for this right here. Got the championship ring. He's the reason for that. I just had to pull that up. But I love that take because, all right, we don't even have this down for talks, but this is going to be a big talk right now, is I am so sick and tired, and this is our tangent. I am so sick and tired of people not appreciating Drew Holiday. And I'm so sick and tired of them saying, send him on out, send him out. He's nothing for us. If those are fake Celtics fans that say that, because if you watch on a night to night basis and you see Drew Holiday in that lineup, he's giving you defense. He's passing the ball and he's making shots. Yeah, sometimes his shot selection, all right, whatever. And he's not making so many points. But the thing is, Drew Holiday's role with the Boston Celtics is play defense and pass the ball. He's in a Marcus Smart position, but he's a lot better than Marcus Smart. He's where Marcus Smart was with Boston. People love Smart because he loved and died for the city. But if you look at him, he played defense, he passed the ball, and he would score time to time. What does Drew Holiday do? Exactly that, but better, I think. Personally, I'm a big Smart guy. Don't get me wrong. Don't call me out because I'm one of the biggest Marcus Smart fans out there. I love Marcus Smart. But Drew Holiday and his role here is what the Celtics ask him to do. You know, like it's like if what's a good example? If they told me if I was playing for the Celtics and they told me to go out and just pass the ball and people got mad at me for doing my job, like that's my job, you know, that's what he's supposed to do here. And you look at Drew Holiday, if we don't make that trade, I don't think the Celtics win Banner 18 last year. It's a hot take, but I don't think they do. You could exist and they won Banner 18 without KP last year, but without Drew Holiday, they're not winning Banner 18 last year. It's his defensive threat. I can't talk for a second. Is his defensive threat and just his dominance on offense. Like any given night, you talked about that, David. He had a 20-point performance. He could give you 30 on a given night. But the thing is, he is not the main scorer on this team. Obviously, you see, I would say it goes not Brown, sorry, Tatum, Brown, KP. Then you look towards, all right, we could go towards the direction of Derek White. Then you could go Peyton Pritchard, Al Horford. Then, then you have Drew Holiday. He's the sixth or seventh option. You could give it to either Al or him, but he's the sixth or seventh option on this team. And when people say, oh, get rid of Holiday, no, he is a veteran leader and he is the reason why the Celtics go back to back. He's the reason for the Celtics to go on a run and bring it back to back and bring that Banner 19 into Boston. And it just makes me frustrated because I've heard it several times and I hear all the time out when I'm in public too. I'm like, they're saying, oh, get rid of Holiday. Holiday, he's old. You got to get rid of him. No, old people on a team is fine because that's veteran leadership and that's experience. Like Al Horford, for example, you talked about him, David. Al Horford, he's playing. He's geez, they say Tatum's 19. I think Al Horford's 19 from the way he plays in Boston. But it's just like Holiday isn't appreciated to the way he should be, and it frustrates me as a Celtics fan to go out and hear, "Oh, Holiday should be gone. We need to ship off from Holiday, like get younger talent in there." No, Holiday is the reason for Banner 18, and he's the reason we're going to go on a run. You see him, and you see when he plays, the games are a lot better for the Celtics. It's just he dictates the pace, and he is. I'm going to say this. Yeah, Tatum, number one guy. We can't do it without Tatum, but Holiday. You get if Holiday was out for playoffs, we don't win Banner 19. If we do, it's hard. It's tough. But Holiday is one of the main people behind that. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm sick of the Drew Holiday hate. I really am because I've heard all season, and we've even, I'm not going to say any names, but on this program, even,
I was
like,
just going to mention this if you're familiar with the person on this program that's just in trading Drew Holiday.
no, but even on, yeah, Celtics Nation Rise. Like we had a episode. I'm not gonna say any names because I'm not trying to get in any beef. But we had someone who was a big advocate for getting rid of either Holiday or Porzingis. And without all right, Porzingis, okay, we you saw it. We got it done without him last year. But Holiday, we don't win Banner 18 without him. I'm sorry, but it's true. It's true.
Yes, absolutely. We don't do as well, and we don't raise Banner 18 without Holiday. 100% agree with that. He very well could have won MVP at that Indiana Pacers series. He had
Oh,
over,
for sure.
I think he had a season high in that game one where Jaylen Brown hit the buzzer beater. He had the steal at game three to seal the win for the Celtics in that crazy comeback victory. And then game 4, he had the rebound off the Tatum miss to allow us to drain out the clock and get to the finals. So Drew Holiday, as I said, just does all the little things that you don't always see or don't always appreciate because it doesn't show up in the box score. And all the talk of like moving Holiday, like, yeah, we had someone on Celtics Talk Weekly who we all love mention trading Drew Holiday back in January. That produced for an interesting segment here in the program. But my whole thing is all these people right now talking about trading Drew Holiday. I'm going to assume that they have the best intentions and say that they want to trade Drew Holiday only because the Celtics are coming up with a very tough decision to make this summer, whether we win the championship or not. Is Bill Chisholm, the new owner, going to be willing to pay over $500 million to keep this team intact? It's a very fair question. But at the same time, why are we talking about this on April 2nd? We're about to go on a crazy playoff run potentially, win the championship for the second year in a row. We have our whole team minus 2 players back from last season, the team that won the championship. So if you feel so strongly about this stuff, address it. Either hopefully it doesn't happen, but the day after the Celtics get eliminated or the day after the Celtics win the championship again, hopefully. Like, this is not the time to be talking about it. We got to enjoy this ride while we can, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But, like, this is a perfect time to just be focused on the playoff run, get excited for another exciting time in this Celtics organization, being a Celtics fan. I mean, who has it better than us? It's been a crazy 3 years. This whole thing started in 2022. We had the thrills of going to the finals in 2022. 2023, we make it all the way game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And then last year was the cherry on top with finally winning Banner 18 after a 16-year drought. We have the chance to do it again this year in 2025. So let's just enjoy that and worry about the rest later in the summer. That's my opinion.
No, I agree. And it's like there's bigger concerns, and we get into it right now. Like, I'd say Hauser and his defensive effort, that's a concern. And there's Tillman, who is a practice player, and I don't know why he got the start, but we'll get into that when we get into that game. But there's bigger concerns than Drew Holiday, the person who's the main reason for Banner 18. And it's Drew Holiday. We're talking about before the Celtics, because now he's kind of like, I'd say now people brush him under like the bunch, like people don't look at him highly, but who's a superstar? I'm going to say that, or an all-star. You look when he was in Milwaukee, like he was, when we went up against Milwaukee, I'm thinking, okay, Giannis, Drew Holiday, then Chris Middleton. I'm looking, Drew Holiday's a problem. All right. That's a problem right there. Drew Holiday is an issue. Like, he's an all-star. I want to say before the Celtics, because now he's kind of like a Marcus Smart role. He could be a borderline superstar almost because of just his play, But I kind of want to even get into Al Horford and his efforts. Al Horford's been incredible for the Boston Celtics. We'll get more into him, but I think we should get into game 1. We've been rambling about your superstars on the Celtics, but Boston Celtics, why not? Let's just pull it back up one more time. Look at this. Just incredible. But obviously, our last episode was after that Kings win. Now we fast forward to that Phoenix Sun victory. You guys see it, 132-102. I'm going to go as far as to say this, one of the best wins of the season. I was mentioning how great our team basketball was, and it was without Jason Tatum. Yeah, we had last week on the podcast, we were very concerned about Jason Tatum and his injury. However, we obviously got some breaking news in the podcast, so that wasn't the case. We weren't so concerned. But no Jason Tatum that game. He obviously comes back the next 2. The Boston Celtics beat the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker, by 30 points. That's incredible. And I think that was the best team win we've had all season. We are passing the ball. The passes looked incredible. We looked offensively synced. And that's the Boston Celtics team I want to see going into the playoffs. We did the best job of just keeping our foot on the gas pedal and not letting go. I've discussed a lot of concerns around the Boston Celtics getting big leads and then taking their foot off the gas pedal and just blowing those leads. However, that's not what we did in that game. And that's the Celtics I want to see moving forward into playoffs, just being able to go in there early, dominate teams from the opening tip, and just keep going forward, keep pushing on that gas pedal and just dominate those teams, because that's what you got to do. When you go against, say we go against Cleveland in the playoffs, you need to keep your foot on that gas pedal and go all 4 quarters, all 48 minutes. Yep. Right. 48 minutes. I'm making sure I'm right with that. But all 48 minutes, foot on the gas pedal. Don't let up, because a team like Cleveland, as soon as you let off that gas pedal, they're going to take that and they're going to grab that momentum and they're going to push forward and they're going to beat you. It's how it is. You've seen it. You saw it last matchup we had against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We had our foot on the gas pedal. We thought in the first quarter that was a done game. We thought in that first quarter the Boston Celtics already won. However, we let our foot off that gas pedal and they dominated us. In that fourth quarter, I was on the ground with my arms on my face, laying on the ground. Why? I was so angry that game. So
Were you
angry.
screaming?
I was screaming. All right. I will say that was the second worst loss of the season. We lost to Milwaukee once, right? I think this season.
We beat Milwaukee all 4 times, actually.
Okay, then who was it? All right, maybe it was Cleveland the first time. I think it was the 2 Cleveland losses. That was me.
Yeah,
Maybe
the
because
first Cleveland game was tough too.
okay, that's what it was then. All
Getting
right,
back to it was
yeah,
in Cleveland. We had a 15-point lead and we blew it in the second half. That was a tough one.
that was my biggest crash out. The second one was that second Cleveland game. So that's a series that I'm not. I don't think I'm mentally prepared for yet, because like just it's I get into those games. It's that taste of playoffs. Obviously, we didn't play the Cavs though, but what are your thoughts on that dominating win against the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, I thought that we were going to break the 3-point record after our first quarter, where I think we hit 8 threes in that first quarter alone. We went up 21-8 early. Um, just a heck of a shooting performance. We shot 45 of 89 from the field. That's almost 51%. 22 of 52 from 3, which is over 42%. I mean, those are video game numbers, and it's very hard to beat the Celtics when they're shooting that well because of the volume of threes they take. If they're shooting 42% from 3 and they're taking an average of 48 to 50 looks a game, you know that's going to be a long night for you. Um, Heck of a performance in the starting lineup from Porzingis. He gave us 30 points in 29 minutes of action on 10 of 15 shooting. Jaylen Brown in 28 minutes gave us 24 points. Every starter scored at least 16 points. So yeah, it was a very balanced effort offensively. And I like the point you talked about where the ball movement lately has been so crisp, because the Celtics in this game specifically finished with 33 assists. That could be a whole nother tangent we go on, where I keep seeing we're almost 3 years into the Joe Mazzulla era of this whole era of Mazzulla ball, and you still have analysts complaining about how many threes the Celtics take and that this isn't sustainable
Yeah.
in the playoffs. I mean, I'm no expert, but I think this play style is sustainable given that under Joe Mazzulla, we've gone to Game 7 of the finals and also conference finals, excuse me, and won a NBA championship. So
Yeah, totally. Sorry, I don't mean to take over your take, but I feel like this. Yeah, you could talk about the threes and stuff, but it's working. If it wasn't working and the Boston Celtics are a bad team and they're, looking to capture the flag, as in Cooper flag, if they're at the bottom of the tier team and they're all right, and then we see them taking all these threes and that's a concern. Okay. Or if they're even in the middle of the pack, I'll even say that if they're in the middle of the pack, but you look, they're still in second place. I think still 4 games out of first, right? Still
yes,
4 games out of first. And we're predicted, obviously we're one of the names to go back to back. So it's like come on, how can you I understand if you're a middle of the pack team or if you're a bottom, but it's because you're the Boston Celtics. I mean, people don't come after you unless you're the best team in the NBA, and that's what they are. They have the most championships, and you see their team, no one is better than the Boston Celtics. Sorry, you go back on. I just had to throw that out there really quick.
No, all good. And I've said it in this program ad nauseum. I've wrote about it in my articles where Celtics take an average of whatever it is, 48 to 53 point attempts a game. But of those attempts, like 80% of them or 40 attempts are considered open or wide open looks where a defender is not even close to them when they're shooting it. So Joe Mazzulla has kind of changed my whole perspective on this since he became the coach of the Celtics, where I used to just get so triggered when players would miss shots. But now it's like I don't get as mad when players miss shots because if it's wide open, you might as well shoot it. I don't care. As long as we keep generating wide open looks, those shots
Yep.
are eventually going to fall. If they miss, they miss. But I can live with missing a wide open shot because that's just good offense generating a good high percentage shot. So that's just one thing I don't really understand with all this discourse around the Celtics and taking too many threes is that you're literally just looking at a stat sheet saying like, oh, they took this many threes and they missed, most of them or whatever. Okay, but did you actually watch the game and see how many open looks they were able to generate? Like if it's an open look, yeah, I want Derek White firing it. Yeah, I want Al Horford firing it. Yeah, I want Porzingis, Brown, Tatum all firing it. If it doesn't go in, that is what it is. You can just chalk it up to, missing open shots. But if it's an open shot, you got to take it. And I thought the Celtics in the very first part of the season did an excellent job at generating open looks. I
Yeah.
thought we went away from it a little bit. But to your point that you brought up earlier, I think during this winning streak, they've been moving the ball around amazingly once again. And they're getting back to what they were doing earlier in the season, which is generating a lot of good open looks. So that's just been a great sight to see. And that's only something that's going to help us in the playoffs to try and overwhelm our opponents from deep.
Yeah, no, you said it right there. I think obviously you guys all know the Boston Celtics live and die by the three ball. It's how Joe Mazzulla's game plan is executed, and that's how it goes. You live and die by it. And I'm gonna mention this, and I've heard this take or something like this take, but I think this ever since Banner 18, I don't get as worked up anymore because I trust this team. I like when I see them missing open looks. Yeah, I get mad. I give a little kick on my leg. I'm like, dang, it should have made that one. But after Banner 18, I am so much more comfortable with this team. I'm so comfortable with them shooting the ball. I have trust in this team because we just won a championship. That's my initial thoughts on that. But overall, I thought that Phoenix Suns game was just incredible. You look at that one, and it was just a blowout from the get go. And it's like we talked about last week. Kevin Durant mentions the Boston rumors. Get him out of here. I don't want him. But we fast forward really quick. Is that all you have on that Suns game, or do you want to mention anything else?
No, I'm good to move on.
Yeah. But dominating performance, it's one of the highlights for me of the season. I think that was one of our best overall wins. But you fast forward to obviously that Spurs game, no Wemby, no De'Aaron Fox, and still kind of a iffy game. I didn't watch it, unfortunately, but final score 121 to 111. Um, David, I want you to take it away. What are your thoughts and opinions on that game because I wasn't able to watch it? So I'm going to kind of piggyback off what you said.
Yeah. So, obviously happy we won. Definitely wasn't a perfect game as we continue to say on this program. We had 9 turnovers compared to their 4, so some carelessness there. Obviously, you don't want to cough up the ball against any team. The Celtics have been doing a good job there most of the season of winning the turnover margin, but in this game that wasn't the case, unfortunately. Did a great job, obviously, moving the ball around in this game again. We finished with 32 assists. We continue just to pile up these games lately where we get 30 or more assists, which is great. You want the ball to move around, as we just talked about, get those open shots. And really remarkable for Tatum to be coming back in this game and only missing one game after that crazy ankle sprain. I think some of us were calling for him to be sat out for the rest of the season.
I'm one
I
of those guys. I'm one
I
of
don't
those.
blame you. I don't blame you for that take. My take was set him for the rest of the West Coast road trip, and I
Okay.
thought tonight
Okay.
should be his night that he returns.
Okay.
But very, very crazy to see him attempting to at least come back in that Phoenix game. All those pregame clips of him trying to work it out, him getting upgraded from doubtful to questionable. We're like, oh my god, is he about to play? But yeah, he didn't look like he missed a step in this one. He played his typical 36 minutes. He gave us 29 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists on 10 of 22 shooting. Once again, all the starters gave us double digit scoring. Everyone scored at least 11 points. We got, in my opinion, though, the story of the game was Luke Cornett probably having arguably the best game of his career off the bench. He gave us 31 minutes off the bench, got 15 points, a career high 16 rebounds, with 7 of those being offensive boards and 4 assists. And he shot efficiently as he usually does on 7 of 10 shooting. So that's what I really think was the story of the game, is just getting those minutes from Cornett off the bench, getting that support in the backcourt. And he was really just making things difficult for the Spurs there down low. And that's what we needed. Like, there were some moments where the Spurs were creeping back into it. If I remember correctly, I think we came out of that second half pretty flat. I think they went on a 10-0, 7-0 run or something like that
Yeah.
to start the second half. And when we couldn't get much going, and then Tatum just started finding Cornett. You know, we were just able to get into a rhythm there, and yeah, it was great to see. Hauser also gave us 11 points off the bench. So yeah, I mean, not a complete victory, and we shot a little bit worse from 3 in this game. We took 51 threes, we only made 17 of them. But it just goes to what I said earlier, where we're getting contributions from everyone. We played 8 guys this game, and it happens to be the 8th guy that I'm looking at the bottom of the score sheet who had arguably the biggest night. So
Yeah.
just happy to see that. And yeah, we kept the win streak going and got win 55 in this game.
You said it right there. Luke Cornett. I mean, I looked at that and I was like, oh, you could, I think, give it to Tatum. I don't remember who I was going to give it to for Celtics Nation Rise MVP, but I gave it to Luke Cornett because it's just his dominant performance. And it's like that's my biggest takeaway is the whole Boston Celtics, when they play as a team, no one's beating them. And this is also kind of a piggyback take off of Celtics Talk Weekly post-game show, but it's the fact that the Boston Celtics, like, we've had a lot of concern last year about their bench, and you see those bench guys, they're like, all right, let's boost the intensity. Let's make ourselves be those better players. And like Pritchard, no one thought he would be the man he is this year, being 6th man of the year, head leader towards that. And then you look at Luke Cornett too, who everyone looked past him and was like, oh, Luke's mid. Like, all right, whatever. Sam Hauser, we saw some flashes of him last year, but I think this too. I love, back to Peyton Pritchard, I love how we looked at him. All right, he was just a buzzer beater guy. Now he's a guy that we're comfortable taking the 3. And I'm gonna say this: my first ever Celtics game, I think it was against the Trailblazers, and I don't know if it was that. I don't remember if Pritchard was on the team. It was when Tristan Thompson was on the team. I don't remember if Pritchard was still on the team. I think he
That was
was.
the first year.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a funny story. So I'm sitting in the crowd with the mask because, quarantine, da da da. But I'm sitting there and he takes one practically from the logo, and this guy yells out, "Stop shooting that SHIT. You're not Curry." And you're playing against Damon. I did not like Pritchard then, but he's became into that player. He's shifted into this player where he can make those threes. And you're looking at him, and I'm comfortable with Pritchard taking that. Back then, I was like, why is he shooting that? Like, pass the ball. What are you doing? But now he's that player that I trust him taking those threes. And I'm the biggest advocate for it because he makes that, it's just, it's a team effort now for the Boston Celtics. Ultimately, what I'm trying to get after is it's a team effort. The Boston Celtics aren't playing with just Tatum and Brown. They're not playing with just their starting 5. It's a whole team effort. It's the Boston Celtics as a whole. You're not going to get, some nights you might have a Tatum night. You might have a White night. You might have a Pritchard night. You might have a KP night. But on a great night, you're getting the full Boston Celtics team. When this team's healthy, that goes back to my take. No team is beating this team. We've talked about OKC. All right, they're great. They're young. They're fast. But the Boston Celtics have veteran leadership. They've had experience. They've been there. They got Banner 18. And I just love what I'm seeing. You could piggyback off kind of your thoughts on their bench. I think they're It obviously a lot of concerns last year, but now their bench being one of the better benches in the NBA, I think, from my standpoint.
Yeah, I think that it's crazy the emergence of Peyton Pritchard, like you talked about, where now he's a focal point of this Celtics team. Where last year he's kind of buried a little bit in that bench. He had his moments, but obviously getting more minutes than he did the year prior, where he was buried behind the likes of Brogdon, Smart, and Derek White. But this year he's really coming to his own. He's our sixth man. He's the NBA's sixth man of the year, probably, and he's going to be the guy off the bench that we're going to rely on in the playoffs. We'll see what we can get out of Al Horford. If you were to ask me this question maybe 2 months ago, I would figure that Al Horford would get kind of pushed out of the rotation in favor of Luke Cornett because Al Horford kind of before February had a bit of a quieter season. But these last couple months, we talked about the emergence of Tatum in this hot streak where we only lost 4 games in the last couple months. We've talked about everyone stepping up and with player absences such as Drew Holiday missing a couple weeks, Porzingis missing a little bit, Jaylen Brown in and out. Another guy who's really, and you already talked about it, really turned back the clock these last couple months has been Al Horford, which has been crazy. It's gotten back to me for the fact that I am fully reliable on what an Al Horford at 38 years old can do for us off the bench. I have the full utmost amount of confidence in him to be able to come off the bench in the playoffs and give us, 10 points, maybe 5 rebounds, something like that, which I didn't have a couple months ago. After that, it just gets a little bit murky because I do think Sam Hauser has played a lot better in the calendar year 2025 than he did those first couple months of the season and 2024. But is he going to be reliable throughout the playoffs as a 3-point specialist off the bench? Because if I remember correctly, he was great in that Miami series. Then he went a little bit quiet, and then he went off in that first game against Dallas. But we're really going to need his shooting off the bench in the playoffs because
100%.
you got to be able. Tatum and Brown aren't going to be resting a lot in the playoffs because everyone plays more minutes because there's little to no room for error in a playoff game. But in those few minutes that Hauser's going to get, whether it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we need him to make the most of it. So that's just the biggest thing for me heading into the playoffs is who's going to be getting minutes. Horford's going to be getting minutes. Pritchard's going to be getting minutes, but we need that eighth guy, especially for at least the first round, because you can't run 7 deep the whole playoffs. If you only have 2 people coming off the bench for 4 rounds, you're going to gas out. We learned our lesson with that in 2022, where literally just our guys were so gassed by the time they got to that Warrior series. But if that's Hauser, we need him to perform well. I don't think this is going to happen, but there's talk of Shireman getting some playoff minutes.
Love Shireman.
I think that would be great, but I don't see that happening.
Maybe even Walsh. We could potentially. That one's tough, but there's some options. There's some options.
That's my biggest thing for this playoff run is just bench production, and we got to be able to give breathers for guys like Tatum and Brown because there obviously have been some scary moments this season where the Celtics are not doing well in the non-Tatum minutes. So that's just going to be the biggest thing to how we win Banner 19, in my opinion, is just what production are we going to get outside of our stars?
Yeah. I think you said it perfectly. I feel like Sam Hauser, he's definitely impressed me with his play as of recently, but still definitely a concern. But I want to move forward into that Grizzlies game. You talk about Al Horford, and I think in that Grizzlies game, they were trying to they put Tillman out there, I'm guessing, to get his legs right. He hasn't played a lot of games this season, and they kind of want him to transition into an Al Horford player. Has that Al Horford build. He, as we thought last year, could shoot the 3 ball. No, he can't. But I'm gonna say this. I think the Celtics, they kind of messed him up. I think they should have had him develop in the G League maybe a little bit, let him perform. I don't know if you could kind of do that with a veteran like that. I don't know if you can, but I think that may have been a successful route because now you killed him as a player. Because this is the thing. If I'm gonna say, I'm going to look at Terry Rozier. He had success with Boston. You had Aaron Nesmith. He had success with Boston. Now he's on and has a spot. now you have Xavier Tillman not having success with Boston, and he is one of the weaker players. He might be a player who doesn't get another NBA job. I'm nervous about that. I love Tillman. I feel bad for him. I personally I do feel bad. It's tough with him, but he is not the player we've seen. However, we talked about that Grizzlies game. The Boston Celtics defeated the Memphis Grizzlies with a final score of 117 to 103. Obviously, we could probably see that coming as breaking news that the Grizzlies fired their head coach. So kind of a little advantage to us. But overall, I thought that was a solid game. I mean, every time you face the Grizzlies, it's going to be a tough matchup. They're a tough team. But having Tillman start and still coming away with a dub, I'm all for it. What are your thoughts and takeaways about Tillman or that game?
Yeah, so I think they started Tillman just for the fact that it was his first game back in Memphis, the team that traded him to us.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that
I
could
think
be
they
it.
just wanted to give him that moment. I think that was honestly a class act from Joe Mazzulla. I did forget about Tillman in that game because he started 4 minutes in the first, and then he
Yeah.
started the first 4 minutes in the third, and I don't think we saw him again. He only logged 8 minutes of playing time, which is crazy for a starter. But I actually liked the way Tillman played in those first 4 minutes. He had those 2 points after getting fouled on the fast break. They were leaving him open, taking those shots from three. And again, I have no problem even
Yeah.
if he struggled from deep with taking the open shots because they were letting him take it. He was really mucking stuff up down low, fighting for the rebounds. So honestly, I liked the way Tillman played in that first 4 minute stint. Obviously, it was short lived because he only ended up playing 8 minutes of the 48 in the game. But I appreciated what we got from him. The game as a whole, not perfect. The Grizzlies really stayed in this game by dominating us in the paint. Um, we had 12 turnovers compared to their 10, so not too bad of a net loss there, but they crushed us in the points in the paint. I think they outscored us there by at least 20. So that was their saving grace. Guys like John Morant driving to the hole. But yeah, to talk about what you had mentioned with Al Horford, I had a feeling Al Horford was going to have a big night when he came off the bench halfway through the first quarter and they just left him open from three to take that 3 point look. I just knew that they were going to let him shoot it. And that's a mistake sometimes, let Al Horford shoot the ball. You have to respect him from deep. You have to respect him shooting the ball, period, because he can make you pay that way. He had his best game of the season. At 38 years old, he played 37 minutes off the bench, gave us 26 points, 9 of 18 shooting, including 6 of 13 from deep. I wish he hit that 29-point mark or got to 30 points, and it stunk how at the end of the game he missed like 4 straight shots in a row, and they all kept on rimming out. But still a heck of a performance from Al. And what I really liked from the Celtics this game wasn't the fact that they shot 39 and 96 from the field, below 41%. They shot 21 and 62 from three, which is below 34%. But what I really love from this game is that they beat Memphis at their own game. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is Memphis is arguably the fastest team in the league. They like to run. They got guys like Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, who just love to run, push the pace. Right after you score on offense, you better get back on defense because they're going to get an easy shot up. That's how the Grizzlies have uh, modeled their offensive game for a little bit. But the Celtics beat them at their own game this night. The Grizzlies only got 92 shots up. We got 96 shots up. So I thought
Mhm.
that was just great from the Grizzlies from the Celtics rather, being able to combat what Memphis does best. And yeah, I have no complaints offensively. Little bit of a tough stretch there to start the third quarter. They went on a 10-0 run, but we were able to quiet some things down. I thought Tatum in the final 3 minutes of that third quarter was awesome. And then we went on a little bit of a drought in that fourth quarter at the worst possible time. I think we went over 4 minutes without scoring.
Yeah.
But then it was Derek White who hit that record breaking three to silence the crowd and basically put that
Yeah.
game. So
That's some news too. Yeah.
typical Celtics game. We keep saying this. It's beating an old drum, in control most of the game. The other team comes fighting back, gets a little bit shaky towards the end, but then we just make enough of the plays to win. And that's what championship teams do. So, yeah, very, very happy and very pleased with this team lately. And the fact that we finished the road trip 6-0. The only time we've done that in franchise history is incredible. And we won every game on that road trip by double digits, as I said earlier. So just, no perfect efforts, but again, it's very hard to have a perfect effort in the NBA period. And
Yeah.
I'm just very happy with how this team is playing right now. It's so much fun to watch.
Oh, totally. You said it right there. I mean, breaking the 3 record, beat Isaiah Thomas, and you have Peyton Pritchard and Jason Tatum who aren't far off as well. So, incredible. But that leads me to our next topic. First of all, I want to give my flowers to Baylor Shireman once again for like the 1,000th time this season because I'm a big advocate for him, watching him in the G League all the time. Now seeing him up there with the Celtics, I think it was against the Suns. He had one of those crazy passes, just behind it was disgusting. I wish I could show it up here, but
Back to
what?
back games, he had a crazy pass. I
Oh my
think the game
god!
before he did the old rondo with like the fake where he like
Yeah,
the ball. That was
fake and beautiful, beautiful. I just love the player that he is getting into, but not the topic of the day. JD Davison. Yeah, that's right. G League MVP. You heard it here. JD Davison, you see it right there on that graphic. He was named the G League MVP. And obviously, I have a lot to say about that. I'm sure, David, you could. Did he play that game that you went to?
he did.
He did. So, JD Davison, um, obviously, I was at the game last night too, playoff game. Maine Celtics got the dub. Saw a lot of familiar faces there. Should I get into that right now or should we talk about some JD Davison stuff?
I'll, I'll
Um,
give my thoughts on JD, I
yeah,
guess,
yeah.
really quickly. I love seeing that notification this morning on X that he won the G League MVP. I think that that's just very cool that a member of our organization, the organization that me and you both root for, is now being recognized as the most valuable player in the G League. That's a great accomplishment. On the other hand, I do wonder how JD has felt ever since he joined the Celtics organization because the
Yeah.
Celtics have made it a priority to get high profile guards ever since we drafted him in 2022.
You're
Uh,
right. You're right.
Derek White was getting developed. We still had Marcus Smart. We traded from Brogdon right after we drafted, maybe before, but we right around that timeline when Davison joined the team, we acquired Brogdon. And then obviously right before the championship season, as we've talked about a few times now in this program, we acquired Holiday. So I do wonder if JD Davison is just waiting for his chance and he knows it's not going to come here. Because let's be honest, it's going to be very, very hard for JD Davison to crack the Celtics rotation at any
Mhm.
point in the near future, unless a trade happens, which we're not going to talk about that anymore. We already gave our whole soapbox on that like 30
Yeah.
minutes ago. But I'm so happy for JD, and I do hope he gets a chance somewhere in the NBA because I think he deserves it, whether it's here with the Celtics or somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if he'll get the shine with the Celtics because they're more so looking for a guard that could come off the bench. Obviously, you're talking about it. Who knows with the future what happens? But JD Davison is that type of person in the G League, as I've experienced and seen countless times this season. I was talking it last night, and I think I've been to 15 G League games this year. I've been to way over half of the games, so I've been able to see JD a lot. I wasn't able to get an interview with him this year, but whatever. He's tough to talk to, but just incredible his performance. I don't know if he'll get that shot with Boston as he's a player that takes over the game. He's not used to coming off the bench. You obviously see him when he comes in off the bench with the Celtics those last 2 minutes. He has trouble. He's the type of guy that's gonna go out there from the get-go and just go off and dictate the pace of the game. He is a selfish basketball player, which that's fine because you see him having numbers like 38 like last night in the G League. I mean, incredible. And he was the main catalyst behind that main Celtics victory against Go-Go City. Yeah, they're advancing. But JD, I'm a big fan of him. On any given night, he goes out there and he shoots the lights out in the G League. Obviously, G League, whatever, but he is a player that I do see him having an NBA future with the NBA team. Might not be the Celtics, but it's going to be some team. And we have to think he's still young. I think he's around the 22 mark. I think he's around that. But he's a young player, so he has plenty of time to develop into NBA talent. I will say this, my personal experience, my younger brother and I, we went to the main Celtics game when they went back to being the Red Claws. And JD, I asked him pregame, I was like, you dropping 50 tonight? He's like, I don't know about that. He went out there and dropped 40. It's not 50, but it's still 40. It's still something. Yeah, so let's look at that graphic again. Look at that. Well deserved of it. Love what Celtics Talk Weekly did with this graphic, having the main background. He's just a player where it's deserving. It really is. You see any given night, yeah, you might have players go out there like IT has been on a tear in the G League recently, go out there and just shoot the lights out. But JD Davison does it consistently on a consistent night. He's dropping 38. He's dropping 32. The least I've seen him drop maybe was like mid-20s, and that's still impressive. So like he's crazy. He's insane. I do want to get into last night because it's an advocate behind JD Davison too. Went to the playoff game last night for the birthday. Got to see Jack
Happy
Simone.
birthday.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Uh, got to see Jack Simone there. Big shout out to him. Had him on the podcast. Reporter, go check that one out. Link in description. We'll leave that down below. But also just great night. Saw Brad Stevens there. Great to see him there last night. And overall, just a great night. And JD dictated that pace. I wanted to mention another notable name who was in the G League, and I want to cover him. Jordan Walsh. Yep. He went down. Not sure why he went down. Could be to give the main Celtics some momentum, losing Philip Wheeler, obviously. I've talked about him. If you guys want to go check that out, that's on IG. I had a couple posts about him. So you guys go hear that. That's a long story. But Philip Wheeler obviously departing from the main Celtics, getting that 10-day contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. So he's not available. So maybe Walsh went down there to give them some momentum. But I was talking with a familiar face on this program, Andrew, last night, and I love a point he said. Last night, he was very eager to shoot the ball. He was forcing a lot of shots, and I think that could have been his struggles. So I don't know what I think they might have sent him down to just get some extra reps, help them get a dub, but he was forcing a lot. And JD Davison turned that around. I was actually fortunate to get an interview with him after too. I don't know. It's gonna take a lot of editing before I post it because he talks very quietly. He is very quiet when he talks. So and it doesn't help that I don't have a mic and we're by the bus and he is like, so I'm like, all right, I could break it down what he said. I asked him what his favorite part of winning the championship was. He said the parade, and Andrew and I are still trying to figure out what he said because it's a blur. Like when you're by those people that you love, like it's a blur. Like you know. So I asked him. I said, "What's your favorite part about playing for the Celtics?" And he went in depth, and he gave me like he was like just the winning expectation here and just the fact that I can't remember. So we're trying to figure it out so I can just put text because he said just about the winning organization and how the eagerness to win, which I love that. And it's just the fact that that's the expectation here. And you saw that when I interviewed Drew Peterson. He said this is a winning organization. They want to win, and that's what they value so much. And then you fast forward, I showed him the tat, and he loved that. He's not getting a Celtics tat, but he likes mine. So yeah, that's some other. But no, it was a great night up at the Expo. Main Celtics getting the dub. There's your main Celtics spiel. I know. Didn't give much about it, but the G League's something to look at. And having gonna throw it up again, having the G League MVP, it's a conversation for sure. I mean, he's been on a tear. Him and Miles Norris are the reason why they blew out Go City last night. Have some notable faces on there too. So it was a big win because they had Leaky Black. I love that name. I don't know what your thoughts are, but have you ever heard of Leaky Black?
Never. I've never heard of
You
that name.
haven't. You've never
Never.
heard of Leaky Black. He played for the Hornets, I think. They have Kira Lewis Jr. You know him.
I
Played for
don't. I'm gonna
they
be on. Yeah, a lot of these names aren't ringing
you
bells.
know JT Thor, right?
JT Thorpe.
Yep. Thor. Ring a
Thor.
bell. JT Thor.
I don't know if that
Yeah,
was a great.
I'm throwing out some names. Yeah, but it's still a great dub. I just want to mention on that really quick, but we're gonna refocus back to Celtics talk. Congratulations, JD. Didn't get a chance for an interview, but he's been phenomenal this year. Just incredible. But let's look at the road ahead for the Boston Celtics tonight. Obviously, facing the Miami Heat. You follow that up Friday, facing the Phoenix Suns, and then Sunday they take on the Washington Wizards, and Tuesday they face the New York Knicks. And then obviously that Magic game, we'll break that down for you on Wednesday. But what are your, we'll go, we'll kind of give it a little spiel. Obviously, first of all, before we give our series predictions, I want to hear what are your thoughts about tonight's game? How do we get the dub? And what is your score predictions for tonight? Beat the
Yeah,
Heat.
so I think that the Heat have a lot of people out, so it'll be interesting to see who we play to combat that. Because they're when I was doing the pregame article today, their injury report is like 6 or 7 players. Like 50% of their team is either out or questionable or whatever. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see who we play. I could absolutely expect it to be another heavy rest night. I wouldn't expect to see Porzingis. What's his Al Horford and his big toe are acting up again, so I doubt we'll see
That
him.
left big toe. Some
It's
scary stuff.
crazy. Um, yeah, I would just say is tonight. I think we can win. I think maybe we'd win by 10 because I don't think we're going to be at full strength. I think we're going to take this game to rest a lot of people. So I think we'll win 105-95. We've held the Heat below 100 points in 6 straight games, including last year's playoffs, and I expect that to continue today. The Heat just don't have any manpower. They're just waiting for the season to end and see what happens. They're still in the playoff hunt. I think they're in ninth right now, but it's clear that this is a lost season for the Heat.
Yeah.
And it really was a lost season from the start, given all the Jimmy Butler drama and all that. But we'll see how they rebound next year. It's just, yeah, the rivalry is definitely not what it once was. So I think we'll win tonight. I think we'll win. What's the next game? I'm sorry.
We'll go into that because
Thursday.
I want your predictions, but I'll give my quick take on that. I agree. The rivalry, you can't chant beat the Heat. I guess you could. I'm still gonna be chanting beat the Heat. But I agree with what you said, David. I feel like it's gonna be a big rest night. Obviously, this is where you come to see your bench stepping up. Maybe Walsh getting some minutes. We obviously saw last night. He got a ride right back to Boston, so he's going back right up tonight. Right up tonight, he's back there. So maybe you see Jordan Walsh get some minutes. You're gonna see Baylor get some minutes. You're gonna see your bench guys. I feel like get a lot of minutes, and I think it's definitely gonna be a close game. And I think I look at our road ahead, and I think this is one of the games that could kind of bite you in a sense. I don't think it will. I think ultimately the Celtics still come up with a dub, but I like what you said, David. I think it's kind of be a closer game. I think that the Boston Celtics are still going to come away with it and they're going to keep their winning streak going to 10 games, but I think it's going to be a closer game. I'm going to go 107-93. I think the Boston Celtics win. They've been playing good defense, so I expect to keep them under 100 tonight, and I just want to see ultimately a good dub from the Boston Celtics. 93 is a tough one, but I think if you play the Heat right, you can keep them to 93 points. Wait, did I say 93?
Yeah,
Yeah,
107 93.
107-93. Yeah, I think it's gonna kind of be like a closer one. So I don't know. My thoughts on that one aren't too high, but obviously, talking about that, next you play the Suns on Friday, you play the Wizards after that, and then you finish up it with the Knicks. So, what are your obviously series predictions for this coming week?
I think we'll go. So I think we'll beat the Heat, we'll beat the Suns, we'll beat the Wizards, and I think we're going to lose the Knicks. I think it's just typical.
Okay.
We
Okay.
lost the Knicks in a uh, screwy game at the end of last year. We weren't even really trying. At that point, it was clear watching the Celtics play that night that they were just focused on the playoffs. I think the Knicks, very similar last year too, where we played the Knicks 5 times last season due to the in-season tournament. We'd already beaten them 4 times already. We were bound to lose them at some point. It's very hard to beat a team 5
Yeah.
times in one season. We beat the Knicks already 3 times. I think at that point we'll be resting some more people. I think the Knicks, again, I don't follow the Knicks too closely, but obviously the old adage with Coach Tom Thibodeau is he doesn't believe in resting. He believes in playing all his guys for 40 minutes a night. So if we rest people and he plays all his guys for 40 minutes a night, I just think they'll find a way to get a win against a hypothetically short-handed Celtics team.
Yeah.
By that point, I hope by the Knicks game at this time next Wednesday, the Celtics will just start to do what they did last year, which is just rest people or put all their starters on a minutes restriction at least. So you will only see guys like Tatum and Brown and Porzingis and White maybe playing no more than 25 minutes a game just to kind of lower their level before playoffs. But I see us being the Heat tonight. I think we'll beat the Suns on Friday. And then I don't see any way that we could lose to the Wizards. No disrespect to the Wizards, but they are one of the best team, one of the worst teams in the NBA, excuse me, and you said it would capture the flag. So I think we'll win all these games coming up at the end of this week and the weekend, and I think we'll just drop the game against the Knicks next week. So 3-1's my prediction.
I like that take. I feel like it's hard for me to give a prediction too, because it's like, what ones are the Celtics going to get up for? What one are the Celtics going to play their bench guys? Are their bench guys going to give it full heart and be able to beat a Knicks team by themselves? But ultimately, I got to give credit when credit's due, and the Boston Celtics have been on a tear. And until I start seeing some fatigue, I'm going to go 4-0 still. I do think if you lose one, it's going to be tonight. Maybe if you do, I think it might be tonight, just because it's the Heat and you obviously see a lot of injuries with the Boston Celtics. But I think ultimately you still get it done against the Knicks. I think they want to do that because, is that Madison Square Garden?
That is, yep.
You always want to get a dub at Madison Square Garden. So I think ultimately they're going to get that done. I hope, I think 4-0, and I think next time we meet, the Boston Celtics are going to be on 11. No, wait, I can't do my math really quick. 13-game win streak. I want to see some great momentum moving into playoffs, and whether it be the bench getting the work done, I want it to translate into playoffs. So I want to just see us go on a complete tear, getting wins, getting it done. I think next time we join, the Celtics are going to win these 4 games. But yeah, any final thoughts, David?
No, just can't wait for the playoffs to start. I've said this, this is kind of the worst time to be a NBA fan of a team that is a championship contending team, because we basically already know that we're going to be the 2nd seed.
Yep.
Just hope everyone gets healthy coming into playoffs, and it'll be interesting again to see how Missoula manages all the guys' minutes as the season winds down, because last year we rested people those last couple games completely, and then leading up to those games, we lowered everyone's minutes to playing no more than like 25 minutes a game for our starters. So obviously completely different circumstances, given that last year we clinched the 1 seed before April even started, I think. And we technically haven't even still clinched the 2 seed, and it's April 2nd. So, we're basically locked into it. But my biggest thing is it'll be interesting to see how much like a Jaylen Brown plays the rest of the season. Like, do we push him to play that 65 game minimum to get him eligible for all those personal awards that I'm sure he'd like to win? Or do we just start to rest him? Do we just keep him on the shelf a little bit more to preserve him for the playoffs and give him more time to heal from his knee injury? So that's really the only other interesting thing I'm curious to see the rest of the regular season. But other than that, yeah, let's just keep winning. Why not? Why not go on a 16-game win streak to end the regular season? Why not?
I would love that. Great momentum going into the playoffs. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Obviously, we had a little bit more to talk about this week, but we'll definitely, going into playoffs, it's slow. It's like You could pick things out, but the playoff action is going to be great. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Again, the Boston Celtics are on. Let's throw it up for like the 6th time this program. Look at this, 9 games. The Boston Celtics are getting the work done. Again, to cover it up, JD Davison, MVP there last night. I'm interested to see what the main Celtics do. Maybe potential more interviews and stuff if they come back. They obviously playing the Knicks G League team. But yeah, that was fun last night. Me, my girl, and Andrew were all at the game. So that was a lot of fun. Going there for my birthday, got that done. But yeah, Celtics doing great. You said it perfectly. I'm interested to see what they do moving forward. Can't wait to see how that comes about. And honestly, I hope next week we come here, the Boston Celtics win another 4 games in a row. So that's it for you guys. Celtics Nation Rise, presented by Celtics Talk Weekly. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, David, for joining us. We will see you guys next week. Peace.